Hi there, welcome to Kneppy Invest. I am recording this video at about 3 p.m. on the 2nd of May. And on a typical trading day, I don't pay much attention to what the market does, particularly after about 15 minutes, after I've read most of the announcements. And then when we get to about 3 p.m., and in fact, I typically record videos between about 3 p.m. and 4 p.m. I do the editing the next morning for a release one day after I recorded the video. And typically, when I do start recording a video, or just before I record a video, I have a look to see what the market has done for the day and to see what the share price of a company or any company I'm featuring in a video has done during the trading of that day as well. And when I saw the market was down over 1% at about 3 p.m., I straight away knew that the Reserve Bank had surprisingly lifted interest rates. Now, it was a surprise to me, and obviously it was a surprise to the market. And I'm more inclined to think it is a mistake to keep on raising interest rates right now. And I think it would be prudent just to wait to see what all those other interest rate rises have done to the economy. Now, that's all I'm going to say about the Reserve Bank. I do think they actually do a pretty good job, and I think there should be more of a spotlight on politicians and what they do in regards to budgeting and all those decisions, those very important decisions that affect all Australians. So even though the spotlight has been on the Reserve Bank, I think that's overdone, and we should have a spotlight on what the politicians do, what the government in power does. Anyway, rant ended. Let's talk Selfwealth, a company I haven't looked at for about 9 months. And there are a few reasons why I haven't looked at this company. One of the reasons, a very important reason, is simply the share price is doing nothing. And that'll become apparent when we look at the chart at the end of the video. Another reason is because this company was sort of trending towards becoming operating cash flow, free cash flow positive. And then for some reason, they decided to really ramp up their spending. And then they became highly operating cash flow and free cash flow negative. And I think that was sort of the wrong time to do that. I really thought they should have been focused on profitability, on free cash flow generating activities, that sort of thing. But when it comes to their Appendix 4C for the March quarter, it does look like, or this is a much interesting quarter in terms of what this company is doing, cash receipts and cash flow. So I decided this will be the first time I've taken a look at Selfwealth over the past 9 months. For those who have been living under a rock for the past 3 or 4 years, Selfwealth is an online share trading platform. And I have used their services and currently still am using their services, although I am trending towards using Superhero a little bit more just because they have lower fees. Now, one of the interesting things about Selfwealth was the introduction to trading on other indices like the American indices, Hong Kong. They've introduced that as well. And also they've planned on introducing crypto trading as well. And I don't think that plan has been implemented just yet, but it's in their pipelines in the near future. That's probably all I'll say on that right now. Selfwealth was founded in 2012, listed on the ASX in November 2017. So 5.5 years. Time surely does fly, doesn't it? Once you get older and older, time just seems like it just goes way quicker. And I just see November 2017 and think that's 5.5 years ago. I just go, whoa, that's so long ago in terms of time, but it seems like it was just yesterday. Time dilution rant over. CEO is still Kath Whitaker. She's been in that role since April 2021. And one of the largest shareholders is Lee Gaywater and Gemma Cooper, and they have a 9% holding in the company. I think pretty sure LGGC is a superannuation fund of those two people. Now, last time I did a video on Selfwealth was in July 2022, and the share price then was 17.5 cents, which means the market cap was 43 million. Now, the share price of Selfwealth is around 18.5 cents, which means the market cap is just above 43 million at 44 million. So that is a sort of a first clue why I haven't taken a look or closer look at this company in the past 9 months, because the share price has done absolutely nothing. Now, during that 9-month period, the share price hasn't just gone flat sideways. There's been peaks and troughs within that 9-month period. But over the last 9 months, the share price of Selfwealth has done absolutely nothing in terms of a line. And the ticker code for Selfwealth could be anything else other than SWF. Well, actually, it could be SWT, SWH, SWE. Don't think SWF is so obvious as what I just said then. Now, if I am ranting and rambling on a little bit more than I usually do in my videos, I have no idea if I do rant and ramble on a lot. I'll just blame that on the fact that I'm recording this video after doing 2 consecutive night shifts, and I am surviving on about 5 hours sleep in the past 60 hours. Yeah, about 60 hours. Now, I'm not that fatigued or tired as most people would feel if they had done or working on 5 hours sleep over the past 60 hours. But I think maybe I am overestimating myself and my abilities to function as I think I am functioning at this point in time. And I do record a lot of videos after doing 2 night shifts, and usually I record them fairly quickly because I think I do a fairly good job. But again, I think I am over judging my performance. That's probably the best way to put it. Anyway, rant, ramble ended. Now on to Selfwealth's March quarter for financial year 22. So before we have a look at the current quarter, I just want to compare and see how this company has performed over the past year. This is very important, and it should illustrate why I have not really followed this company over the past 9 months. So this is 1 year ago, not 9 months ago, but 1 year ago, Selfwealth had $5.4 million in receipts and was operating cash flow negative by $1.8 million. And for the first 9 months of financial year 22 was operating cash flow negative by $5.3 million. Now, previous to this, I think it was maybe the previous 2 years to this company had achieved being operating cash flow positive on a quarterly basis. And then they ramped up their spending for some reason, and there's probably some good reasons, they think, for ramping up their spending. And then the company became not highly operating cash flow negative, but they were operating cash flow negative. And I would say burning through $5.3 million in operational cash could be considered a fairly good burn rate for this type of company. But they still had $13.1 million of cash at the end of this quarter. If I remember correctly, they did do a significant capital raising in the September. I'm going to be completely wrong here. They did do a fairly big capital raising, which is why they do have a fair bit of cash on hand at the end of this particular quarter. So let's have a look at the March quarter for the most recent March quarter for financial year 23, just to see how Selfwealth has performed over the past year. And to be honest with you, things are actually moving quite well for this company. Receipts up to $7.8 million for the first 9 months of the year, $22.7 million. In fact, this company was operating cash flow positive for the March quarter, $629,000. You might scoff at that amount. You say that's fairly low operating cash flow, but it's positive. Last year they were negative, and not only that, instead of burning through about $5 million of cash in the first 9 months of the financial year, they'd only burned through $65,000 of cash in the first 9 months. So it does seem like Selfwealth is turning things around. They've probably ramped down their spending and cash receipts have kept on climbing. So this company have reached a little bit of scale during the past year. So receipts up $2.4 million. And we can see they haven't really increased their spending all that much. So in fact, product manufacturing operating costs down $200,000. Advertising down $300,000, staff costs up $300,000, administration costs up $350,000. I probably would prefer staff costs and administration costs to be down and advertising costs to be up if I had my preference. But overall, when you look at their spending, they haven't increased their spending at quite the rate that they've increased their cash receipts, and that's why the financial performance of Selfwealth has improved significantly in this quarter compared to the same March quarter 1 year ago. And I probably also should mention they still have over $10 million of cash on hand. Cash on hand. And that is one thing I do look at, cash on hand, if a company has any debt. And Selfwealth is not in that sort of boat at this point in time, in terms of debt. Anyway, let's have a look at some of the metrics. So I do want to see some growth in these metrics, particularly in active traders, I don't really care about total funds under management, Aussie, Australian securities held on HIN, even client cash. I don't really care that's increasing or decreasing, but I really want to see active traders increase, really want to see operating revenue increase. And what they've done here is compare this current quarter to the previous corresponding period, which is in the third column, and the previous quarter, which is the second quarter of financial year 23, which is in the second column here. So we do want to see some good growth. Operating revenue up 45% from 1 year ago. Active traders only up 4%. Client cash down significantly, 33%. Australian securities held on HIN up 3%, and total funds under management neither up or down, 0% climb. So almost stationary, steady from last year. So the main thing here is, even though I probably would like to see active traders increasing a little bit higher rate than that 4%, the main thing here is operating revenue has been increasing, although steady on last quarter. And here is the important receipts history for Selfwealth from the time they listed on the ASX way back in 2017. And back then they had very little cash receipts. This is a sort of receipts history you do want to see. Significant growth in 2020, which is understandable because that's the time when it seems like every man and his dog was trading stocks because that's probably all they could be doing. And we saw one quarter where the receipts actually doubled from the March quarter to the June quarter, from 2.1 million to 4.2 million, and receipts have continued to climb since then. Now, the company did have a record quarter in the December quarter at $7.8 million in receipts, and the last quarter actually equaled that record quarter at 7.8 million. So even though we have seen a few quarters where receipts was lower than the previous quarter, generally receipts are growing for this company. It's going to be interesting to see how successful their crypto trading platform is. I'm not sure when they're going to implement that, and I am sort of interested in that, how that performs, particularly if we start to see cryptocurrencies go on another run. And if I do remember correctly, Bitcoin and even Ethereum, the only two cryptocurrency charts I do look at, both of those charts actually are starting to look a little bit more bullish. So that could be good news for Selfwealth if they implement their crypto trading soon-ish. Now let's have a look at the chart for Selfwealth. This is the daily chart going back to May or June 2020, which is 3 years ago. And it's just so weird to think that COVID-19, March 2020, the COVID-19 financial panic was over 3 years ago. That's insane. So much has changed in 3 years. Anyway, let's have a look at the Selfwealth chart. You can see in the middle period of 2020, the start of this chart, share price of Selfwealth was going bonkers. And I think the market understood this company was going to do fairly well during that period because of the insane action on the stock market, the insane volume on the stock market, which is very important for Selfwealth. Selfwealth wants you and me, those people who have accounts with Selfwealth, to be trading as much as they can. And it seems like that was happening in 2020. So in a funny way, a really volatile market, if we see a major drop in the market, would actually be beneficial for Selfwealth. And the share price went to a high of about 82 cents, and that was in September of 2020. We saw another peak at the start of 2021. Share price got back almost to that high we saw the previous year. But since that high in early 2021, the share price then moved into a well-defined downtrend. In fact, share price fell from about 80 cents all the way down to a low of about 14 cents in June 2022. So that downtrend took about that time from the high to the low took about 18 months. So you didn't really want to be holding Selfwealth shares during that 18-month period. And the share price low was in June last year. And that was the bottom of the market. And since then, share price of Selfwealth has been going sideways. And again, last time I did a video, the share price was almost the same as the share price is now. So we call this a consolidation period. So when the share price was in a well-defined downtrend, the bears were in complete control. There were way more people who wanted to sell out of Selfwealth than wanted to buy in. And what's changed now is more than likely those who wanted to sell out have probably sold out. So there's less pressure on the share price. And what we don't see many buyers either, because the company, even though this was a pretty good quarter on the on the surface, I still think there are probably wary investors out there in regards to the performance of Selfwealth. A lot of competition out there, and I think that's another reason investors are wary about Selfwealth. So what the company has to do is prove that they can become profitable, they can keep on growing, and can generate cash in their operations. And they've done that in the March quarter. And if the market becomes satisfied with that sort of story, that's when we'll see the share price take off and move into an uptrend. That could happen tomorrow. It could happen 1 month from now, 1 year from now, or maybe even 5 years from now. Yes, consolidation period can happen for a long time. Just take a look at Microsoft back in between about 2002 and about 2015. Share price of Microsoft went sideways for about a 10 or at least a 10-year period. And in fact, I just had a look at the Microsoft chart, and the share price for that company went sideways between 2001 and 2013. So I was almost right. I thought it might have been a bit short, about a 12-year period where the share price just consolidated. And there is a really good story behind that and why the share price took that long to consolidate, even though the financial performance of that company kept on improving year after year. But that story doesn't belong in today's video, which is all about Selfwealth. If you have any questions about Selfwealth, any thoughts about the video, the company, my rambling on, my ranting, I'd love to hear your thoughts. So leave it in the comment section of this video. Otherwise, I am not a financial advisor. If you do need financial advice, make sure you seek out someone who is qualified and can speak to your own financial needs. That's it for this video. Have a good day. Bye.